Welcome back to the Homestretch podcast. Today's episode is going to be diving into the behind the scenes of building my dream life. Now, what even is a dream life? I mean, people do generally have dreams, I feel, but when you actually try and pinpoint what you actually want to do, sometimes it can be quite hard. And I feel like as I've gone through life, it's changed a lot for me, but I just have this niggle in the back of my mind of things that I want to do. So I wanted to do a podcast basically talking about what I think a dream life for me looks like, a little bit about kind of how I've got to this point in my life and, my day-to-day activities in terms of what I do to build that dream life of mine, right? And I'm going to have to put a blanket over me because it is so cold in the UK right now. I think we're coming up to like minus temperatures, so it is not fun. Every single morning I've got an hoodie on and a really hot cup of coffee. But today I have a cup of tea to spill the tea on all things behind the scenes of building my dream life. To get started a little bit with this episode, I kind of wanted to delve deep into my past, a little bit about why I have these sort of drives and mentality, because I think it's probably come from a lot of my parents. My dad has a business that my mum was a part of, and he still does. So I feel like that entrepreneurial kind of mindset has always been there for me a little bit. And obviously growing up, watching them work together, building this business and enjoying life together, we were very lucky as kids that we could go on holiday and we were able to travel to beautiful places. And I probably took that for granted a little bit when I was younger because, you don't appreciate like how much money parents spend when you're young, and you just kind of think everything's all fun and games. But when you grow up, that's when it's like, oh no, your parents actually worked real hard to build what they've got now and to make sure that you had a good childhood. So I think from being younger and being a kid, I think I was drawn to my dad working hard. He worked away a lot, and my mum helping with the business too. So I think watching them kind of be role models for us, and like for me and my sister, I think that's always pushed me in that direction. And even going through my kind of career throughout my life, whether that was full-time work, part-time work, anything like that, I've always had like a real deep-seated feeling that I want to work for myself. I want to be my own boss. I want to own my own businesses. And I've always felt like I was going to own multiple businesses. I don't know why. And when I used to kind of journal and write down things that I wanted in life, like years and years and years ago, I would always put own successful businesses, like multiple successful businesses. And I'm kind of living that dream right now, which is really weird to say because it's not the kind of business that I would have thought I was own. I think you tend to think that businesses are like a physical thing, whereas mine's a bit more digital, if that makes sense, with my work. But it's still a business and I still work for myself and I'm still a freelancer and I'm still self-employed. And, it's amazing. Like looking back now, I'm technically living my dream, which not many people get to say. I feel like I'm a good representation of you can go for quite a lot of your life in your 20s, not really knowing what to do, not really knowing where your path is going to be. And then you find that you're just living your dream life. I mean, it's pretty amazing. And I must say that I have never been so happy in what I do for work and my flexibility on my time schedule, not having someone tell me what to do, when to be in the office for, what time to clock in, what time to clock out, asking someone to go to a doctor's appointment. Like the freedom that what I do right now gives me is like top tier. And it is something that I dreamed about many years ago. But I do think when you get started on things to do with career and stuff like that, I obviously did uni. I went to uni for 3 years and did my master's for 2 years, all in, to do with psychology. And it kind of got to a point where I thought, I'm very spiritual. And if I want to help people, I want to do it spiritually. So I feel like that might be an avenue I go down in the future. But as much as I love psychology, I feel like I wasn't mentally prepared for how much trauma people go through and me be able to hold myself together, to be honest. I feel like if I was a psychologist, someone would tell me their problems and I would start crying. Like, I feel like I'm quite an empath when it comes to stuff like that. So realistically, that the idea of that kind of line of work sounds great, but that doesn't work for me, and I know that now. But it's interesting though, because I feel like you do have to go through these things to fully understand what you want to do, where you want to go, and who you want to be. I did a lot of different work. I did support work where I was helping, vulnerable adults. There was a lot of alcohol abuse and a lot of trauma that these people had suffered, right? So going through that, I was kind of like an unpaid therapist and someone that people could talk to. And, as much as I loved that job, I took everything home with me. I just couldn't not think about people when I came home. Or if you left the shift and something was kicking off and you're handing over to the next staff member, I would go home thinking about it. And I'm like, I need to know what's going on. Is everything okay? It's one of those weird kind of jobs where I loved it, but I hated it at the same time. But it did give me a bit of an insight into working with people that closely that have things they're struggling with. I struggle with that. And I just wouldn't be able to hold my own if I was to be a psychologist. I'm just not cut out for that. I think in terms of like helping people, I'm more driven by that spiritual side and healing like yourself. And also, the help of others is great and therapy is amazing. I've had therapy before and it really, really helped me when I was going through a really tough time. And, I'm all for therapy, but I just couldn't be a therapist. And it took me 5 years at uni, about 60 grand's worth of debt, which I'm still paying back now. And I probably will do for like the next 30 years. But yeah, that kind of thing taught me that that just wasn't the line of work I was supposed to go down. I just couldn't handle people's emotions. It makes me emotional. So even though that's what I thought I wanted to do from when I was like 16 to when I was 23, I then changed my mind and I was like, well, actually, that's not what I want to do. And I think that's okay. People go to uni all the time and don't use their degrees. And people do think, oh, they've gone to uni just to have a 3 year piss up and not do anything with their degree. But realistically, people's mind changes and the direction your life goes in, it can change and that is okay. And that's what happened to me a lot of times. So when I did that kind of support work, I was doing part-time work after that here and there. I was working in a children's home for a little bit and that was really, really hard as well. I couldn't do that. It was just difficult. And I feel like because I cornered myself in to that niche in terms of support work around different, with working in a children's home, with working in a hostel, it kind of cornered me into that's the only experience in my like career life. And then I got my very first kind of office job, so to speak, at charity. And I loved that. It was so different to what I was used to before, but I think it was just too regimented for me. It was very corporate, but the people that I worked with was lovely. So it was kind of a battle of, do I want to do this for a long time? Do I want to build myself up, work my way up in the charity? Which, to be honest, I did actually want to do that at first. And I feel like I was given a lot to the job and I loved the job for a good maybe year. And then we had a new manager come in and me and her just did not get on at all. It just absolutely broke down my love for the job. And when my old manager came back, who I absolutely loved, the damage was already done. The passion had already gone. I think if anyone is watching or listening to this and you've been through that experience, you'll totally understand what I mean, because it's so hard to switch back to, I love my job, I love what I do, I love my environment, to having it kind of demolished by someone, which, people don't get along in life, that's fine. But it just made me lose my passion for the job. And at the end of the day, I honestly just felt like I was sinking the team. I was being more of a burden than a positive. And I really found it hard to get myself back into that positive mindset. And yes, I love my role. I love what I'm doing. I was just losing it. So I did do what I'm doing now for work alongside my full-time job for probably a good year and a half, actually, I think it was. And I was able to build that on the sidelines as well as work full time. Now, I will say building your dream life is real tough because I wouldn't have been able to do what I did in terms of the UGC, user generated content, which is what I do now. I wouldn't have been able to do that if I was not employed at all. Because with the UGC, it takes time to build up your portfolio. It takes time for you to build trust with brands, to make good content, to focus on it, and to also be able to pay your bills, to have a life, to go on holiday, to actually enjoy yourself. So I feel like that job was amazing because it enabled me to be able to do both. And without it, I wouldn't have been able to do what I do now. So I feel like when you are building your dream life and you want to do what you want to do, but you don't want to work full time, it's super hard to just jump from the full time work straight into self employed unless you're doing the building blocks before that. And, you need money to start it up, sort of sometimes. If people are kind of selling a product, you need that money to start off with. And to do that, you have to work. So it's kind of like you have to do the hard graft to be able to build your life, the dream life that you want. And yeah, that is obviously going to look very different for different people. But for me, I was really grateful for the job that I had because it enabled me to get better at the UGC stuff. So then this year came in March and I was able to leave my full-time job. Forever thankful for that role. Loved it. And, I can see myself working with them in the future. But I do think the best thing for me to have done was to leave. Like, yeah, I was bringing the team down. It was not good. So during that time, I will say I was working very long hours. I was always very tired. I was constantly like, all my free time was basically put towards this. So I didn't really see a lot of my friends. I didn't really see a lot of my family. I feel like my relationship with Nathan didn't affect it too much, but he knew that I was working a lot because I was working a full-time job and then doing this on the side. And he was so supportive. He was amazing. He was just like the best boyfriend ever. And I feel like during those times, yes, I was making a lot of money, but I was working real hard. And I feel like when you see people that are successful, you expect them to be working hard 24/7. And most people do. I feel like most people grind, most people like non-stop work. But I have found now, which has made the whole thing look totally different to me now, is you need time to decompress. You need time to reset and you need time to actually take in like the work you've done and not just be a 24/7 workhorse and just, never taking a break. Because I did that a lot and I burnt the candle at both ends so many times. I was quite stressed. I was busy. I was, yes, the money was coming in, but I was working so much. And I feel like with the UGC stuff, you kind of have to start low and then you increase your rates as time goes on. But starting low, you're obviously working the same amount as I am now for like less money. So I was making half the amount back then, but working twice as hard, if that kind of makes sense. Whereas now I'm able to take a step back a bit more, work like twice less hard. Yes, I think I got that right. And then still make the same amount of money. The question comes down to, if you work harder, are you more successful? And I feel like the answer is a bit of yes and it's a bit of no. If you work yourself into the ground, you will be so stressed out. You will be shattered. Your energy will be so low. You'll lose your connection with your family and your friends and life in general because it takes over your life sometimes. You really just need to tell yourself that it's okay to have a break. Since I left my full-time job, I've obviously been able to put 100% into what I do now. And because I've been able to do that, I've also been able to give myself breaks. So when I was working full-time and was doing UGC, I don't think I had a whole day off in like that year and a half. I was either working on the Sunday, working on the Saturday, working basically 7 days a week. At a weekend where someone working full time would have the weekend off, I wouldn't have a weekend off. I would be filming, I would be editing, I would be negotiating, I'd be emailing, I'd be outreaching. The list never ended. And the list still doesn't end to this day. But I have more time now to be able to relax a little bit more and to actually switch my phone off. So when me and Nathan did go on the holiday to Norway, we didn't have access to 4G or the Wi-Fi when we were going out in the North Sea. And that was like 3 days. And I think that was the first time in 2 and a bit years that I didn't work for 3 days, which is weird because even when I was on holiday this year in Spain, I was still working. So I think it depends what you want to do. If something like being self-employed, being your own boss is something that you're really passionate about, it's going to be really hard for you to switch off and to have days off and not think about your work and anything because you are your own boss And if the money's not coming in, it's your fault. You haven't got a manager that's telling you to do this, that, and the other. You don't have a certain amount of money coming in every single month that is definitely coming in. There's a lot more responsibility and a lot more pressure on you, especially if you're getting a mortgage on a house, which we have, and you've got bills to pay and you've got food to pay for and you've got a lifestyle that you want to carry on, and not feel like you can't spend any money. And I feel like my relationship with money has definitely changed since being fully self-employed. It has changed, but in a good way. I look at it now as I feel more proud of myself, the money that I make, because I'm making it. And the fact that I'm still making more monthly from my full-time job that what I do now is amazing to me still. I surpass what I was making monthly in my full-time job before. So for me, amazing. I am so proud of myself for doing that. And, keep the gravy train rolling. That's what I say. But also, I love looking into the future and giving myself goals and giving myself, things that I want to achieve. And one of my main things that I really, really want to achieve, and I'm going to say it here because I'm manifesting it, so I'm speaking it into existence, is £10,000 a month. Now, my goal has been that for probably the past year. And I keep saying to Nathan, I'm going to make £10,000 a month. I know it. I know I'm going to, and I don't know how, I don't know why, I don't know what's going to be, but that's my goal and I'm going to make it happen. And, there was a time when I was working my full-time job and doing the UGC where I was like, I think the most I made one month was like 7 grand. And that was including though my full-time wage as well. So that was like £2,000 after tax. And then I made like £5,000 in 1 month doing UGC. And for me, that was like confirmation that I can definitely see this as a full-time thing and leaving my full-time job. You're going to have good months and you're going to have bad months in whatever business or whatever venture you go into. But I think the main mindset shift that anyone needs to have is that you need to not let it get to you. There's going to be ebbs and flows. There's going to be times you're making more, making less. And it's about being smart with your money, right? And I can't really go into what I do with my money, but I invest it well. I feel like I'm quite smart with my money. Nathan has taught me so much about investing and just money in general. And I'm so thankful for that. Yeah, I feel like I've been smarter. I feel like my mindset is in a very good place right now. And even though I'm not hitting 10K months, which I really wish I was, I am on the trajectory to get there. And I feel like with my mindset and my passion and my drive, I definitely will. And that's the thing. You need the push. If you're working for yourself, you are the person that is pushing yourself. So realistically, if the money's not coming in, it's not your fault, so to speak, but you're the one that can change that. And you kind of have to be accepting with the fact that it's not going to be the same every single month and to not let it get to you. But I feel like my mindset is in a good place. And I'm just looking on the table right now and I am starting to read a bit more. And this was just here that I was reading earlier. And I'm nearly finished this book. It's called Happy Money by Ken Honda. And it's probably one of the best books I've ever read about money. And he kind of talks about how money is an energy and have you got happy money or unhappy money? And it's about the way money's used. It's about the way you feel about money. Are you anxious? Are you fearful? Are you excited? And, how big is your container? Do you feel like your container is, £1,500 a month and you're happy with that? You can live your life and you don't want any more? Or is your container bigger? And he was saying, it can change over time. And I just think it's a really great book for changing your relationship with money into a bit more of a positive one, because since I have been self-employed, it is something that you have to think about a bit more. When you're working full time, you don't really think about it as much because you know that next paycheck is coming in. Whereas when you're self-employed, you kind of don't really know. And, you have to be the one in control and the one in, the direction of how that money is coming in. So you are a very powerful person when it comes to that side of things. But your relationship with money needs to be good. And I feel like I could probably talk about that a bit more, but this podcast is a little bit more about building your dream life or the behind the scenes. So I might go into that in another episode, but it is very interesting. And I think you need to get that relationship to a good enough level to be able to go up to the next level, to even bring in more money. You need to be more mindful of it and how you invest it and how you save it and how you spend it, and not go into the minus, which no one wants to do. But I do think things like reading books like that, or affirmations or subliminals or things like that, that's really helped me, and it's propelled my money up. So why can't it do the same for you? So, yeah, that is something to definitely consider when you're kind of thinking about your dream life and what you want from it. But looking into the future, I think goal setting is so important. And I goal set every single week. Now, I go through phases where I will try to manifest something because I'm really into manifestation, and things would just happen constantly. Like, I was in the car park at Waitrose the other day, and the car park was so full. I think it was on a Friday at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and it was chock a block. People could hardly get in and out, right? So even getting there, I was like, I need to find a spot. Help me find a spot. Found a spot. That's fine. Went out, did what I needed to do, came back to the car. Basically, like jam packed, traffic jam, can't really get in and out. So while I'm sat in my car, there's one row in front of me, and then the road after that is the road you come in and out of to get out. Now, behind me, there's traffic jam, no one's moving, I won't be able to reverse, I'll be stuck here for a while. And as I was thinking about it in my mind, I thought, all I need is for the person in front of me to get in their car, come back to their car, move it out forward, and I'll just go straight out instead of back, like reversing and going out that way. And I kid you not, the second the last word was in my brain, the woman came back into her car and drove off. And I thought, this is crazy. I'm like manifesting loads at the moment. This is great. And then just before she pulled away, I thought, that corner's quite tight. Wouldn't it be even better that the person next to her got in their car and drove off? And the exact same thing happened. The guy came back to his car and drove off. So within a space of 15 seconds, the first car's gone out, the car next to her has gone out as well. And now I've got a perfect exit to get out of this car park that's literally jam packed. So when things like that are happening in my life, I'm like, I can really manifest great things at the moment. I'm obviously in a good mind space. I'm in a good like vibrational frequency. Everything's going great. So what I do is I push that energy onto my goals. So when things are happening like that in my everyday life, I'm like, well, I'm going to make this happen with my business. I'm going to make this happen with my goals for my business, X, Y, and Z. So every single Monday morning, I like to write a list of my goals. I like to say how much money I'm going to bring in from where and how long. So I'm very specific in the goals that I give myself. So as an example, I will make £500 in orders this week from Fiverr between Monday and Sunday. And then what I'll do is throughout the week, I'll add in how much I'm like, this order's come in for £200, this order's come in for £100, and I'll add in what came in when, just so I can visually see it every time I open my laptop, because that is something that I check every single day. It's something that I remind myself of every single day. And I kid you not, when I write down these goals, they all come true. Like it's so specific, it's really freaky. So I would write on there the other day, I'm going to get £150 randomly from something. And I'm in communications with this brand, which hopefully will go through. So it sounds really exciting. It's basically a dentist surgery, and they're going to do composite bonding on my teeth, which is amazing. And originally it was going to be a barter collaboration where I would get the treatment in return for the content. And at first I thought, this is a great opportunity, amazing. Yeah, let's do it. And then I kind of thought of logistics, it's in London, so it's a bit longer to get to. I would have to pay my travel expenses and also, the time that it takes to get this content, to film it, to edit it, and also taking time out of my day to travel. That is also taken away of time that I could potentially be making more money and working with other clients. After like a few days of thinking about it, I came back to the guy and I said, really appreciate the opportunity. However, I just think at this moment in time, it's an expense for me. It's probably not going to work, so I'm probably going to have to give it a miss. And then he came back saying, well, how about we offer you £150 for the content, for the editing and everything, and then we also expense all your travel. And I thought, amazing. Yes, please. Perfect. Thank you so much. So when I look back at my goals list for that week, it said you are going to get £150 randomly from somewhere, something. And it's things like that that I'm like, oh, I'm actually quite good at this. Like, I actually can manifest what I want. And I think anyone can. It's just getting yourself on that frequency and being so specific about what you want. I think in terms of just building your dream life in general, you need to know what that looks like and how that can come about. If you're not specific on it, how is it going to come to you? And I've been direct with exactly what I want to do in life for quite a while. So things might not come in a few years ago, but things are coming in now. So you're constantly manifesting all the time, whether or not you sit down and do that 369 method or something, or, journaling a day in your dream life and just things like that and visualizing and things. You don't have to do all that stuff. You are generally manifesting all the time because, not everyone does those things, yet things still manifest in their life. If you do want your dream life to happen, start by getting really specific on what that looks like. What does your general day look like? What time do you get up in the morning? Are you your own boss, or do you own a huge company? How many people work for you? Things like that, like even to the degree of how much you earn a month, or how much you pay your employees, or how you will be as a boss to your employees. It's things like that. And I can see that maybe happening for myself in the future, but at the moment, I'm good with where I am. And I feel like I'm going on that path of getting the right clients in, getting the right experience, getting the right, just forwarding all of my skills and honing in on that to be able to be a good, successful businesswoman in the future. I would say, am I that now? People would look at me and probably say, yeah, like people close to me. I think for me, I really want something physical. And I think the UGC stuff is good, but I'm really feeling drawn towards a building of some sort that I own, that I run as something a bit spiritual. That's kind of what I've always seen my life being. And I've had that kind of thought for a long time, probably for nearly 10 years, which is such a long time. And I guess back in the day, I would never have thought that could even happen. But I think as I'm going through life, I'm actually like, anything can happen. And when things are manifesting, I'm more so thinking it's possible. It's possible now. So I think you need to push yourself out of your comfort zone a little bit and be a bit more open to your dream life actually coming true. And it's okay to be working full time still and still working towards your dream life, or even working full time is your dream life. Some people want that for what they want in life and build their way up the corporate ladder, or, go into different companies that are going to give them more opportunity. That is okay too. Like, I do have quite a lot of self-employed friends, but then Nathan doesn't know one self-employed friend. Everyone is in full-time work. So it just depends on what people want to do. But I've always known that I want to do this. So I feel like if you've got a burning desire and you see something in your future, like you can just see it when you close your eyes, when you go to sleep, you're just thinking about it. There's probably a reason for that, because your future self is going through it already, if that kind of makes sense. But yeah, I think just a few closing points would be to not kick yourself if things aren't going your way, to be patient when things aren't going quite your way, and to have fun along the journey. Like, this is your life. You only have one, and it's going to go so quick. Like, I blinked and I'm 30. I'm like, what's happening? It's crazy. Like, to think that 10 years ago I was 20, I was a very different person back then, and I didn't really know where I wanted to go in life. I was just a bit chaotic, I would say. But now I'm so laser focused on what I want to do and what I want my life to be that I'm like, it's happening. I know it is. So I think getting laser focused on what you want to do is super important. Write down, just journal down like what you want your future life to be. What time do you get up in the morning? What do you do on your lunch break? Do you have a lunch break? Do you sleep in? Do you get up at 11 and work later in the day? Like, what does your dream life look like? Just get really specific on that, and then do small steps towards it. Even if it's just writing down ideas on a business idea that you've had, like, all of this inspiration is coming from somewhere and you need to write it down. And, if your brain is ticking, just get it onto paper or create something on Canva to get your creative juices flowing. Just any small thing. You don't need like a £10,000 loan. You don't need to go on Dragon's Den to get your business on the go. You can do it yourself, but you need that drive, that passion, that energy to get you there, if that kind of makes sense. But I think it's exciting. I think everyone wants their dream life, and that is going to look different for everyone. But for me, the main things for me is freedom of my time, unlimited source of money, which would be amazing and it will happen one day. And the third is probably something to call my own in terms of like something physical. And whether that's a product, whether that's a building with a business in it, that is kind of what I'd like to do. So, yeah, there is a lot that goes on behind the scenes of building your dream life. It's not all sunshine and roses and rainbows. It's a lot of hard work and a lot of hard graft. And I do think a lot of business people on social media sometimes paint things out as being easy and, oh my gosh, I'm making so much money this month. But it's like, well, what did you have to do to get there? And what was the hardships and what was the struggles? Like, people want to see that, and people need to feel like they're not alone, because it is a struggle sometimes, and it is a lot of stress, and it can be a lot of work. To start, does not mean to say it's always going to be like that, but to start, it usually is a lot of work. So you need to be prepared to do that. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed that episode all about the behind the scenes on building your dream life. I know that I'm still in the process, and I probably will be for a long time, but the building blocks are there. I'm feeling really energetic and excited about the future and to see where I'm going to be in a year's time. And I might even do another podcast episode in like 6 months, just as like a checkup to kind of see what's happened, where I'm at, what I've struggled with, what's been going on, because I'd also like to see my progress as well. And I feel like when you're living things day in and day out, it's hard to see it all the time, if you know what I mean. So yeah, I really hope you enjoyed that episode. Let me know in the comments if you have a dream in mind of what you want your future life to be like, or are you living your dream life? Yeah, I would absolutely love to hear your thoughts and feelings, and we can just all give each other a little bit of inspiration when we're all just following our dreams. So I really hope you enjoyed that episode, and I hope to see you next time.